You have to be quiet.
On November 19th, 2025, we call to order this meeting of the Bonner County Ambulance Service District Board. And with that, we'll see if we have a commissioner who'd like to make a motion based on the order of agenda.
Based on the information before us, I move to adopt the order of agenda as presented.
Second the motion.
Do we have any public comment on this agenda item? Board deliberation?
None?
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Thorn?
Yes.
Commissioner Donkey?
Yes, motion passes. We have an agenda. With regard to the consent agenda, do we have any commissioner questions?
Nope.
Someone like to make a motion?
Based on the information before us, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Do we have any public comment on this agenda item? Board deliberation?
None?
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Thorn?
Yes.
Commissioner Donkey?
Yes,
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
motion passes. Now we'll go into fiscal year 26 claims batch number 3.
This is totaling $51,227.30, with the largest bill being the Idaho employment lawyers for $9,250.
Does the board have any questions?
I don't.
I don't have any questions, just a comment that was, the result of that was showing that you guys did a good job of mitigating risk and putting that money in that bucket for the Idaho employment lawyers for your largest bill. So good job on recognizing that need. So
That's a good point. Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Based on the information before us, I move to approve payment of FY26 BCASD claims in batch number 3 totaling $51,227.30.
second motion.
Do we have any public comment on this agenda item? Board deliberation?
None.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Donkey?
Yes,
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Thorn?
Yes.
motion passes. Miscellaneous business, the first item we have is our task list. Do we have any updates specific to the task list for this meeting?
Commissioner, let me grab my microphone. The only updates I have is two of them. One is the TAN, which I'm currently working through. Our projected timeline is I have the letter of interest that will be on the agenda for December 3rd. And from there, it'll be legal stuff being drafted, and then everything should be ready to go by whatever the second meeting in December is, the 17th. So right now, everything's good on that timeline, so we're working everything through. And then the other thing we're working on is our health insurance, separating from the county health insurance. We did get a quote back on that, and I'm working with Kevin, yes, thank you, on trying to get as close as we can to what we have currently, and so it doesn't run the price up on, because it's not going to help us to separate and then have employees pay a ton of money. So we're trying to get that as close as possible. So those are the two, I guess I would say, big projects that I'm working on. Yeah.
And then can we just add that we already did the kind of review of staff, noting that HSA isn't going to be there, and that if we made that change, that they understand that, and that's also a bigger county review of, are we going to continue with HSA?
Right.
Because that was one of the concerns of shifting was HSA change.
And the company we're going with, the IIIA, which I believe, I talked to Chief Armstrong here a while back with Selkirk. They use IIIA as their carrier, but it's a conglomeration of districts in the state of Idaho. and small cities. I don't believe counties are allowed, but it's,
I don't know.
but basically it's a conglomeration of all these, and they pay into it, and it brings the premiums down. So it's kind of a shared thing amongst Idaho small districts and small cities. So, and then one thing that, as Commissioner Williams said, they do not offer HSA as part of that. So they just offer the PPO plan. But as we're looking potentially, and I don't mean to misspeak, but we would be going with a different carrier than what the county currently uses with Regents. It would be a Blue Cross plan, and the timing would be probably pretty decent because Regents is still fighting with Kootenai Health on their contract stuff. So if that doesn't get resolved, then that's going to be quite a problem. So. But that's all I've been working on.
And when it comes to the timing of the TAN, to the best of your knowledge, with the December timeframe, once we have the paperwork complete, sounds like then we could actually move forward with executing a particular dollar amount sometime in the month of January if we decide that's necessary, which at this point I know we're saying we expect to do so, but we have to still determine what the dollar amount's going to be and the timing.
So we've already, I guess make sure I'm on the same page, Commissioner. The dollar amount's 500,000, and we've already, that's the stuff we're working on now is the letter of interest will come to you guys saying we want to go through with the $500,000 amount for the TAN. It'll give you the amount for the interest, it'll give you the amount that the loan cost, and then come the second meeting in December, that's when the board would sign off saying we're getting the TAN. So is that
Okay, I understood it a little bit differently, so that's
Okay,
good that we're getting on the same, yeah. I thought we were collecting some more data before deciding the value, the amount, but that's the piece where I have a slightly different recollection of
Okay.
what our approach was.
I think that there might be some confusion because what you described is that paperwork, and then when we get to the month of January, maybe he's thinking of what amount do you want to actually pull forward once you.
Oh, I got
qualify.
you.
So I think that might be where you're talking at, what he said his agenda item was talking about the TAN and preparing for the TAN, which means he's identifying the availability of the $500,000. And so in the month of January, the TAN would be available because the board would vote for it. And then that's where the ambulance district would be calculating, I want to pull $250,000 forward. And I think that might be what Commissioner Domke's number. I
Gotcha.
think that
Yeah,
you're
that's a good
talking about two
clarification.
different things.
It would be sort of like the TAN for the last fiscal year, right, where I believe it was a $2 million authorization,
Total.
but that was not the amount that was actually borrowed, and so we were authorized for a greater amount than we actually chose to borrow, and that's where I'm just,
okay.
so I understand you getting the paperwork set up so that we are ready to pull the trigger
Right.
when the time comes, but I didn't think we had clarified what the amount would be that we would want to authorize borrowing.
I think they're asking for up to 500,000.
We are.
No,
Okay,
But
Because we have to have some amount to do
Yes.
the paperwork.
yes.
you're asking for just paperwork. Once we take the
Just
borrowing
paperwork.
aspect,
Yes.
that's in January. So
Correct.
Yep.
So I just want to clarify that you guys are talking about the same topic, but two different
We are.
elements of the topic.
I see this now.
Okay,
Two-step process.
Yep.
We're going to get
Yep.
the authorization, if you would, by
Yep.
having the paperwork in place so that
Yep.
we're authorized up to the limit of
Yep.
$500,000 is what
Yep.
you're suggesting. And then we will decide
how much
if to borrow and how much to borrow as a
Correct.
secondary action
Correct.
after that.
Yep.
as the third option. There's 3 steps here. So we're That's the third option that will happen in January if we bring that forward. So, on the tan, do you have, I know the price was going to be really low compared to the $10,000 that it was last year. Do we have an idea of what it'll cost him to draw it up?
So I can tell you that I sent some stuff to Bill yesterday, our attorney, and he had it done by yesterday evening. And a lot of that, I'll say a lot of that has to do with the fact that we invented the wheel last year, so Bill didn't have to reinvent it this year. So I was able to send him all that stuff from last year, and he just went through it. So I got him, Columbia Bank working together, Joe from Columbia Bank, which they're doing a great job, and Joe was involved in it last year. So again, they've already been through this. So yeah, it's not going to be anything like what we had to deal with last year. And the legal firm we used last year, although they're very good at what they do, you know, it was $600 an hour, and we're
Yours is a flat
190
rate.
190 an hour with,
The tan was an automatic flat rate of 10 grand. Didn't matter the hours. That's,
yeah, we don't have that this year.
I remember seeing that, saying, what?
Yeah.
Have to clock hours on this? But,
Yep.
okay, all right.
The board have anything else with regard to the task list? All right, on to the revenue projection.
So revenue projection, and this kind of goes hand in hand with our conversation about the TAN. What we did was, and when I say we, in talking with Jennifer about this, we pulled the revenues out of the projection because that's what we had talked about. When I say we now, I'm talking about the board and myself. Last meeting, there was discussion on, you know, if there's no revenue, can you survive until the January timeframe with the government shutdown and everything? Thankfully, that's been mitigated, and they're back open, and we're still billing at a super rural rate, so we still get our add-ons. So all that's good. But if we were not to bring in any money between now and the end of January, we would finish January projected at plus 240,000. The other thing that we did was, and it's not on your list, we basically just came up with this within the past day or two, but we'll make sure that you guys get a copy of it. But Jennifer went through and got our totals from October of last year till September of this year, monthly totals. We talked about that, getting the top.
Right.
And October of last year was our highest at 490, but that was a lot of front-loaded HSA and that sort of thing. So March of this year was 850,000, but 500,000 that was the TAN payback. So that's going to be roughly 350 in real numbers. May was 538, but that was because we have a loan payment once a year for the ambulances, which will be done next year. And then September was 485, and that was because we did wildland fire deployment, and that's showing that we're paying our wildland fire team at a higher rate, so that payroll is going to be more, but we get reimbursed, so we're not showing the reimbursement side. So kind of anomalies on those really high numbers. So if you really average it out, and tell me if I'm wrong, but we're roughly $400,000 a month is what we're kind of a residual amount, because some months are 350, some months are 420, so we're somewhere in the $400,000 range. So I appreciate Jennifer getting those numbers together. I'll make sure that you guys get a copy of this. And then the other thing that was requested of us was to look at the two highest PTO balance employees. I believe Commissioner Williams asked about that. So Jennifer's got those numbers. So if the two highest ones cashed out now, that would be roughly, he's one of them, $26,000. We don't want to use names.
I didn't use a name.
And if we have four of them, that's $42,000. So if we had four leave and cash out, those are our highest. So if you kind of put all that in, 42,000 if four of our top four.
We did the top two and a top four.
They get a lot of PTO.
So if we took the
Which my
average.
idea that I pitched to you makes sense then. So I don't know why you were,
I was actually agreeing with you.
So if you take the monthly average of 400,000, we did the ideal being, a 6-month reserve, that's 2.4 million. And then if we round it up, 2.45 with the PTO payout value in a worst-case scenario, I think that's a pretty good target to say we want to build to over time per our conversation with the board at the last meeting. Based on those, because now we're using real numbers.
Well, and this
So
this gives some definite clarity to that question because, like I say, we're looking at real numbers and
Yeah, so my suggestion would be if you provided just a really brief summary for the next meeting with the revenue outlook that indicates that there's an estimated average monthly expenditure of 400,000, and then we have the PTO payout value, and you can round that up, and so that we have a target of having a cash balance of 2.45 million, so that we know that we're working to that target over a period of, at some point, the board can say we want to try to achieve that within so many years.
right.
And I think we can do more specific planning as to how many TANs in the future, at what value, and how to, based on like what Commissioner Williams has talked about in the past, how do we build to that, right? We're not going to get 6 months all at once, but if we can get 2 months and then 4 and work up to 6 over a few years, I think it'll be a really nice position to be in.
But if we did what we were talking about, we could knock some of that down. I'll pitch it to you later.
Like I said, I agree.
It didn't come across that way. We're very argumentative.
So I think we have a public comment on this item, so I'm going to go to Mr.
Well,
does the
before
board-
we go that, so what I had talked to Alan about was a process by which we address some of those potential large payouts that you can't anticipate, but in your budget year, you could anticipate what would be due and owing by a different, and he said this actually used to exist where some within EMS or law enforcement, because I was at Spirit Lake, where you could pull out over a certain dollar amount of hours at a discounted rate. You got to pull that money out, so it drew the hours down, so it wasn't a hard hit to the budget, and it equally wasn't a full cost to the budget. And maybe there's an
Like vacation time?
So,
Of-
remember we used to do like every December, they'd be like, you can.
Oh, a buyout
Yeah, you could buy
at a
out.
percentage.
buy
Oh, you say
out
pull
to
out,
not-
you mean, okay,
Yeah,
cash
cash
out
out,
of value.
They used to
at
do
a-
that every December, they say, as long as you keep 100 in your bank, if you have 200, you can pull out 50 hours now and cash that out.
At
And
a
that-
percentage.
And that way it wasn't hitting a budget for a full, but then people that didn't get the flexibility to take time off felt like they were getting use of their time, which some people, like Spirit Lake law enforcement feels like they get a boost in employee morale from being able to do that because sometimes staffing doesn't allow for
Them to use it. Sure.
but they get to use it by way of cashing out. But then in terms of budgeting, they have a policy as to how you can do it, and because you can identify your top 4, and you could go and say, do you intend, and you can plan to budget, which would help you with a little bit better planning on it, and it would help with kind of that employee morale aspect of it. So that's worth considering.
Sure.
He did agree that it was a good idea.
And our employees loved it because it was always around Christmas time. The county
I do
offered
remember
that.
that, yeah.
The county offered it every December.
And they had minimums of you cannot go below this number.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
had to have a foundation of which to build off of.
Right.
So that was actually an interesting review. So
Yeah,
What-
it seems like a pretty good idea if you plan it into the budget for that year and then can reduce your overall liability.
Yeah, the county as a whole used to do it. I remember like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it stopped. But every county
The good old
employee,
days.
yeah.
This was one.
But it was a county-wide thing that they offered.
There are other or other departments
It's worth
where the
considering.
people just don't get to, and I think I've heard kind of similar from like jail and law enforcement where they feel they don't
Can't
get to
use
use
it,
it,
yeah.
but then they hit the cap and then they're throwing it in the garbage, and so it negatively impacts. And so it was just something I gleaned from their meeting.
Good idea, Commissioner. I support that.
I love the way you respond. You're just a pleasure to work with. I wish more people in your department were like that.
So I'm locking the door.
Commissioner, are you good? Can I go to public comment?
I'm trying to get him to draw out that money so he can. Yeah, I'm good.
Good, all right.
You're the boss.
Mr. Martin.
Wayne Martin, Bonner County resident. A couple questions. On the TAN, there is only a cost to the ambulance district if they utilize any of that money, correct? Or is
There's
there
only-
a cost other than the paperwork aspect?
There's a loan.
Yeah, so you only pay fees and interest if you actually take money out other than the cost of doing the initiating paperwork.
Yep.
Okay. And then on the other one, on PTOs, one of the companies that I worked for, we had a maximum number of hours or a cap. And then we were either given that opportunity to be able to utilize a percentage of those hours, or take, vacation, or you lost it, which it sounds like the sheriff department and all does. But they also offered us the opportunity to cash out a maximum amount. And during our contract negotiations, it was talked about, the maximum amount that could be taken out either per quarter, 6 months, or after a year. Something to think about, even though Commissioner Williams did mention that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Martin, we did receive the packet that you dropped off.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up on public comment. Thank you.
And we are on public comment now. Do you have anything else that you'd like to mention?
So what I gave you, and I haven't found the other articles with the fire service and EMS and all. But as the article stated, and I sent it to Chief Linsky, the Fire Rescue 1 article on the mayor-elect for New York City on mental health plan. I know Asia's been looking at trying to get better resources for mental health. I don't agree totally with what New York is doing. There are other states and counties across the country that are working towards that. One of the concerns that I do have, that I've been hearing some of the areas are doing, is that they are not sending police officers out, that they are either sending mental health people out on calls, or they're sending EMS out without backup of law enforcement. I have a concern with that you're putting those people at risk without having law enforcement. Law enforcement, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily, depending upon the call, have to be the first point of contact, but they should be in the driveway, or if it's in a city, one door back or whatever, and ready to respond with a common frequency, so that the medical people would be able to make an immediate call requesting backup, with law enforcement being able to be on site to respond, versus having to have dispatch then respond an officer to that. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I give some response in a little bit about what he said, but then I forgot to tell you, you can apply for the grant. So I'm going to forward you the grant for the community paramedic thing. So I'll send you that. In terms of kind of explain a little bit more, and I think it's worth us doing the presentation in the county about what 988 does, because it isn't just that they come out, there is a connection with law enforcement. But one of the things that we're trying to pull forward, and they will offer it to us for free after last week I did that Boise Mental Health Conference, is free CIT training for EMS and law enforcement. And then they're going to give us assist training. They scheduled it for January, but I feel like that's too close when they want to do it on a Monday and Tuesday is our regular business meeting, that they need to push it out a little bit farther so we can plan better. They'll offer that to us at no cost. 988 gets, I think we need to have more of a meeting here in our community about what it is and how we interface, and then getting the back channel line for EMS and law enforcement and a greater communication to the community, because law enforcement isn't far behind, but they can actually be activated without law enforcement or without EMS. So it's not, they mitigate the risks, and that happens, and it's not, we have to communicate it not as just suicide prevention, because it is rebranded to crisis and suicide prevention. So it's two things now, it's not just the one thing. And so there is, part of what we did yesterday was working with Spirit Lake Police Department on how to access 988 and looking at the metrics to show where you actually saw costs with your ambulance, your hospitals, and law enforcement go down, because 988 is free to us. We just have to start using it. And the more we would use it, the more we pull services our way. So it's not that we don't have 988 crisis issues here. It's that because we're not drawing on their resource, then they don't get approved to give us a resource, because then they get told there are no calls coming from Sandpoint, so you don't need anything. But that's not accurate. And so we have to kind of educate on how we can use it, so that when it's, their ideal would be to have an office dispatch here, but right now our closest one is going to be Lewiston because we're not dialing it. So we have to address that. But law enforcement works with 988 when they're not going out at the risk of the personnel from 988. But it is not just for suicide prevention, it's crisis too. So anyhow, so I'll send you the SAMHSA grant, $350,000. I would like to get that money.
Yeah.
And Commissioner, you used an acronym I'm not familiar with. Was it CIS?
What did I say? Did I move too fast?
Something about training.
Oh, see.
Oh, CIT, Crisis Intervention
Oh,
Training.
okay. I
Sorry.
heard CIS, and I didn't understand what that meant, so
Yep,
I misheard. Thank you.
CIT training, sorry.
All right. Do we have any additional public comment? Seeing none, do we have any final thoughts from Ambulance Service District or the board? Nope. All right, then it's 11:28 and this meeting